Brain Trust. I'm Mary Piasta with Haeuser, Valluzzo, and Piasta here with my co-host, Daren Blonski of Sonoma Wealth Advisors and Chelsie Runnings with Homes by Chelsie. And we're here to bring you facts over fear and talk about the latest things happening in our world. Today we're going to start with a legal update because one of my personal idols and lots of others has passed, and that's Justice Ginsburg. And it leaves this huge hole on our bench with our country. And there's all this political battle over who's going to take that spot. And something we want to talk about today is whether in times like this, maybe there should be a pause and contemplation over that. And with other things too in the world that are going on. So I don't know. What do you guys think, Daren and Chelsie?
Well, it's funny, Mary, you should say pause, because I think pause should be the word of 2020, if anything, right? And, I've noticed a lot lately with clients, a lot of people are making big decisions because they're in fear and flight mode, right? And they're trying to run away from the smoke. They're trying to run away from the COVID situation, and their lives are just feeling like they're constantly stuck. They're stuck in a gear and they're not going out of gear. So they're making big decisions to try and get out of gear. And what I keep telling them is now is time to pause, right? It's time to just sit back and take stock of everything to rebuild and then make bigger decisions later on. But making big decisions right now it's not always a bad thing, but it can prove not a great thing for you because there's so much change going on. It's better to let things kind of settle through. It's kind of like my advice that I always give to people who just lost a loved one. I say, no big decisions for a year. Just sit tight. Let's get everything where it needs to be. And then we're just going to breathe through this and let you work through this for the next few months. And that seems like what we all could take right now with 6 weeks out this election.
Right, I think so. And I give that advice too with people calling right after someone's passed. And they're really concerned about doing things, right. And, at that moment, it's all about just honoring the passing and the value of life. And I think that Justice Ginsburg, if anyone gets that respect from society, it's her and her legacy. Yes, I'm a believer. I read all her dissents in law school and it had a very special meaning. So, and here we go. But I think in these times, for sure, it's important to have solid advisors who can say, hey, let's think about things.
Mary, when you met your husband, because for those who have been listening, her husband's an attorney too. Did you guys over Friday night glass of wine sit there and debate dissents?
No, because when I met my husband, I was in politics and he was getting his master's in economics and neither of us had been to law school. Those debates came later.
Oh, got it. So you went to law school and got skills of debating, both sharpened your saws.
Basically, but a lot of those skills come from the family setting, right? So,
yeah, ain't that the truth, right?
Growing up around siblings and lawyers definitely helped that. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. Chelsie, are you seeing people make quick decisions to put their homes on the market?
Actually, it's the opposite. A lot of sellers are holding out, and it's actually kind of putting not a hard stop, but it is slowing down the momentum we've had in the real estate market. We've had strong buyer demand from March until now, and it's just a continuing theme. Usually fall is kind of starts when school starts and then continues on through fall and winter is when the buyer demand starts to slow down and real estate markets kind of slow down. And just those really, the buyers who really need to buy or the sellers who really, really need to sell are the ones who are out there usually at this time of year. But the buyer demand, it's not slowing down. What is slowing down is the inventory and the supply is so tight that we're seeing dips in closed sales. So for sellers who have been considering if maybe they should sell, it can be a good idea to definitely evaluate it with your advisors. Like everything else in life, don't rush out and make a decision because everyone's circumstances are obviously different and very personal. But just to give you an idea of what's going on, like in our valley, just Sonoma Valley alone, since September 1st, we've seen $47 million in closed transactions in just the valley. We have had 37 properties sell this month, 13 with multiple offers. We currently have 108 on the market, and 23 of those are already under contract. So like I said, the buyers are out there and they're aggressively trying to take advantage of these low interest rates, but the lack of inventory is kind of, putting a halt to it a little bit.
And this is like a historic low, right? Like I'm hearing in Napa, it's like a 42-year low in inventory or something. I mean, it's a big number.
I've been saying interest rates are historically low, but inventory rates are also historically low as well. And we're just, we're seeing all those people from San Francisco and everyone moving into Sonoma and Napa, and they're trying to take advantage of working from home, which makes sense. Before, I think I've said it before, we lived our lives outside of home, and we came home and basically went to sleep and woke up and repeat the next day. And now we're living at home. So it's important to have the comforts of home. It's important to have the office space and the entertaining space and the space for kids and for parents to kind of get their own space. And that's what those buyers are out looking for more than ever right now.
It's interesting. I was listening to one of the economists with Housing Wire, and he was talking about, and you've heard us talk about this before in this channel, and that is that when we have crises, what it tends to do is exaggerate trends that are already in place. So it pushes them further. It's not that these new trends necessarily start, but things that were already in process, like meeting on Zoom, working from home. Those were things that were in process. And we have these big events. They tend to push that faster, quicker. And what this gentleman was talking about, he was saying that really this fleeing from the cities, he's not saying that, hey, I don't think cities are done. I think what's happening is the millennials are getting married and having babies now. So they're moving out of the cities. And what the demographic data shows is that this trend is going to continue, that people are going to be flooding out of the cities. All that COVID did was really just put a steroid in it and sped up that process, which I thought was really interesting because we have been talking about a lot in context of, hey, this is a COVID scenario. But what this gentleman was arguing is that, no, this trend is going to continue. You're going to continue seeing the urbanization of this generation. And as you see that, there's a shortage of homes. With a shortage of homes, you're going to have pressure on existing homes.
Well, and then it does into like employment law rights, right? So a bunch of companies are coming out and saying, hey, you know what? If you leave the city, that's fine, but we're going to change your salary.
Yeah.
And so you have all these people who are buying these posh properties in different areas based on their salary that they're currently getting. And then they're like, oh, wait, I have to take a 30% pay cut. Whoa, hold the phone. Like what happens there? So there are some really huge developments that are happening as our society and these companies try to, survive, but also kind of make things better for them as people do shift out of town.
I think
VMware just said they're going to nail their people who move out of the city 8%. They're taking away 8%.
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this last week a little bit, was that people are making long-term decisions very emotionally right now. So they're making these long-term decisions and they're only thinking to like the weekend. They're not thinking about what's going to happen next year, which makes sense. I mean, like you said, this isn't a new trend, and this lack of inventory and issues with housing, it's not new. California's had a lack of housing and had housing inventory issues for years. COVID's just magnifying these things. Mm-hmm. And people are running off of their emotions right now.
Right. So how are we seeing this in the markets, Daren?
The last couple of weeks have been pretty negative in the markets. We've had a lot of sell-off in the Qs, which is the tech companies, right? And so there's this kind of feeling that things are coming to an end because we're not getting stimulus. And monetary stimulus, which comes by the Fed, continues to push this thing. Jerome Powell came out yesterday and said, hey, we're going to do anything we need to do, basically. Market pops back up a little bit today. We'll see. It certainly hasn't broke the downward trend it's on, but it is up. But this loss of our RGB is an issue, right? Because that's going to create more turmoil in the Senate and in Congress, which makes it less likely we're going to actually get fiscal stimulus. I think whoever party wins at the end of this 6 weeks, hoping we have a winner, that they're going to put huge fiscal stimulus in place. And that's going to be a big tailwind. Until we get to the election, though, I don't see much happening fiscally. And that's going to weigh on the market. It's going to soften the market. It's going to make it more difficult for the market to continue to rally, especially that it's rallied so far, so fast after March.
A busy week, you guys. It's been a lot of stuff happening.
Ain't that the truth?
Guys, I've been feeling a little overwhelmed and unmotivated lately. I have some business going and closings going, but everything in life has just felt so big. Just every time I turn on the news or get on social media, it's just like nonstop, just fighting and too much to deal with. So I have decided to mute the politics and the news on my social media accounts and turn off the news. And I'm doing a 28-day real estate challenge to jumpstart my business for next year and start planning and goal planning for next year, because we need to give ourselves a break. I mean, we've gone through now 2 seasons of COVID and coronavirus quarantine, and I guess we're getting pretty serious now. But we got to remember to give ourselves a break and just kind of turn off all of that stuff and just be kind to each other and.
And I think that's really important, right? Like, we started our show today talking about pausing, and, let's pause. Let's pause for all the things. Let's pause for ourselves. Let's rebuild what we need to and refuel. So whatever happens in the next 6 weeks, we're all ready.
So turn off CNN, turn off Fox, turn off MSNBC, vote how you're going to vote, help with the voting if you're going to, but other than that, sit back, take a pause, love those around you. There's really not much else we can do right now. I think our cups are full.
Except, wait, you can like and subscribe to our channel, which is really